we was at home kids, Coates lived out, Robert Coates' mom and dad lived out in the country. And we would go, on Sunday we would go, when I was kids at home, we would go out to their house. If the weather was good on one Sunday, the next Sunday they all came out to our house. And when George Hepworth died, he died when he was 15. He had cancer, and Earl Coates rode a white horse out, and Ben was just a little bitty thing. He come up on the chair, and he seen Earl Coates a-coming, and he said, "Oh, here comes the Lone Ranger on his white horse." But it was Earl Coates come and brought the death message when George died, because back then you didn't have no telephones.
Yeah.
No, nothing. And when my mother died in 1939, October the 9th of 39, Roy Colvin was married to Sarah, my sister that was killed, and he sent all the telegrams everywhere. But back then, why, you had to really be sick. I mean, now the doctor would come to your house and maybe sit all night. Now, when Paul Edward was born, Dr. Garrison stayed all night at my house over there. And then he went that morning, he got a call, he had one of these little phones, he got a call to come to Winchester because Helen had Dolores, her girl. And she had her just about 8 o'clock, and then he came back down to my house and and by 9 o'clock, Paul Edward he had no car, and he had a flat tire, and Frank went out and changed it over here when Paul Edward was being born. And that night he stayed all night. We had a bed in the front room where the kids slept, where it was warm, and Mary Jean's was, Kay. Kay was sleeping on that bed, and she went on the top of the bed, and Dr. Paul was sleeping across the foot of the bed. And they dedicated the song, Sleeping at the Foot of the Bed, for Dr. Garrison, because he was sleeping at the foot of the kid's bed the morning that Paul had been. Yeah, what did Jimmy Dickens sing it? Yeah. But he made his rounds faithfully. If he didn't get there in the daytime and you had a sick kid, he would check on you before he went to bed and went in that night. It didn't make any difference what time. He's come to my house as high as midnight and 1 o'clock in the morning to check if I had a kid that was sick. He didn't charge. Whatever you wanted to give him, he would take. And back then, you could have a baby for $50 to $100. And now, you don't have no babies for that.
Yeah.
Had the money to pay, you pay. If you didn't, you didn't. And if he come to my house, he knew I always baked bread and I always made gravy for breakfast. And many a time he'd come in of a morning to see somebody, and he'd run in. He'd say, "Did you have any gravy left, Dickie?" And then he would take his finger, run around there. "Do you care if I have the rest of this?" I said, "No, go ahead and eat it. Everybody's ate." And he'd eat it. That gravy and bread, biscuits. And then he always would come about time. If he came at noon, he knew I cooked ham and beans, or bacon and beans. And he always said, I'm going to get me a bowl of beans. And he'd sit down and have him a bowl of beans for dinner. Della and Johnny Mitchell lived next to John Fryman's. I mean, to Alan and Doris's in the next house. And I'll tell you that now had their baby Della. And so she was going to have this baby, and so anyway, Johnny came in at noon. He came home, he worked at the brick plant, came home at noon and told me, he said, "Well, Della's going to have a baby." And I said, "I think she's going to have a baby right now. Can you come over?" Well, I lived at the corner house there, back there, Irene Smith's, and I ran across the road, and by the time I got over there, I said, "Did you call Dr. Garrison?" And he was, No, I didn't. And I said, "Well, you better get a hold of him." I said, "Because you're going to have a baby here." That was my first experience with a newborn baby. And I thought, what am I going to do? The baby's here. And all I did was wrapped it in a blanket, made sure it wasn't choking or anything, and laid it up on top of her stomach. And I thought, oh dear, I hope Dr. Garrison comes. Well, when he got there, he come in, he said, "Well, you did a fine job. I'll take you with me when I go delivering babies." Well, he cut the card, and he said, "You did a fine job. Go ahead and clean it up now." And so I did. And then
now, who had the baby?
Johnny and Della Mitchell. And so then, when we lived over there, Why then, I still lived there. Well, then they moved over here, right here. Well, me and her washed together. We put out a wash that day, and I said, you know what? You're going to have your babies tonight. You're going to have twins. And she said, oh, I don't believe that. I said, you're going to have twins, and they're going to be boys. I don't believe that. I said, that's right. You're going to have twins. You wait and see if you don't. Well, along about 11 o'clock, before Frank got home, he got off at 10. He's come running over there, and he said, can you come over? I think Della's going to have this baby. And Castile said, one baby. Well, I said, well, let me get a hold of Dr. Paul. I said, my lands, let's get a hold of Dr. Paul. So I called Dr. Paul at that time, and then I had a phone. I called, I ran over here, and he said, now bring your pop, because we don't have any. Okay, I brought it. And by that time, Frank had just come in. I said, what's the kids? I'm going over to Mitchell's, because she's going to have this baby. Well, she started to have that first baby. And I said, oh, God. And by that time, Dr. Garrison come in. And I said, oh, lands. I said, Dr. Paul, I think we're going to have 2 babies here. And he said, oh, Nikki, you're doing all right. Now, just don't worry. We got her in the back seat of his car. And as he pulled in the hospital, she had that first baby. They just got on the elevator and started up the elevator. She had that first baby. And by the time they got ready to take her off the elevator, she had her second baby. And they were boys, and she called them Melvin and Marvin. That's what she called them. And he come home then, and I kept the kids. I stayed over here and kept the kids for him. And he come home, and I said, well, what did you have? He said, twin boys, just like you said. And Melvin and Marvin was their names. And then she was killed in a car wreck. Oh, so...